I will do what I must.
Then you will die.
Hello there, everyone. This will be my Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 6 finale video. There's a bunch of Easter eggs, obviously referencing a bunch of original trilogy stuff that'll happen in the future, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I will be doing full episode videos for Star Wars Andor and She-Hulk when they start in August, too. And because this is the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale, I'm doing a special giveaway for a custom-built lightsaber. The people who are going to build it created a special landing page on their website for the giveaway that I'll explain in a second. But many thanks to Onshape for asking to sponsor this saber giveaway. Onshape is the only cloud-native product development platform featuring professional-grade computer-aided design and data management, like these special sabers that they can help you design. Companies like Formlabs, DHL, and Trek use Onshape to design products that we use and experience every day. They function kind of like Google Docs, but instead of creating documents and papers, you're creating professional-grade 3D designs of products. Onshape is going to have the custom saber that we're giving away. You can enter the giveaway by using the link that they created for their website. I'll put it on screen here and add it in the description below. And they'll just pick a winner randomly from the people who enter on their landing page. It's onshape.com/emergency. So many thanks to them, be sure to check it out, and I will try to also contact the winner and include their name in one of my future videos really soon. But just careful for spoilers from the entire Obi-Wan Kenobi series and the finale if you haven't seen them yet. We'll be talking about everything. Starting with the opening scene, which takes place back on Tatooine, with Reva having survived and going back in search for Owen Lars at Anchorhead. It's the same village from Episode 1, where the Inquisitors had come looking for that rogue Jedi who wound up dying anyway, and also finding out about Obi-Wan Kenobi in the process, sort of setting off the plot of the whole series. This time, Reva looking for Luke Skywalker, even though she doesn't know his name, she just knows the boy that Obi-Wan Kenobi was trying to protect is with Owen Lars, and is looking for him to use him against Darth Vader, theoretically. Obviously, it doesn't go that way, but at least at the beginning of the episode, she's still trying to get revenge on Darth Vader, still trying to find a way to kill him. The first scene of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader's ships is meant to be a reference to the beginning of A New Hope with Leia's Krilling Corvette, like he's going after Leia again this time. Very similar shot, instead this time it's just from above with the way they enter the frame instead of from below. They also borrow a lot of music cues from John Williams' original trilogy music during many different scenes, many different pieces of music as well. The whole reason why he increases the firepower against the ship, he wants to disable it. He doesn't actually want to destroy it, but he's only thinking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, there are lots of Force sensitives on this ship. It's basically the remnants of the path as it exists right now, all the Jedi that have been trying to escape. Most of these people are just Force sensitives or their allies. The only actual Jedi on the ship is Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. But even though he tries to kill him later in the episode, the whole thing is that Darth Vader wants to capture Obi-Wan Kenobi so that he can hopefully torture him for a long, long time, like he tortured the rest of those other Jedi that are in those stasis pods. They do actually reference those again later in the episode when Obi-Wan Kenobi is finally talking to Reva at the end of the episode. I believe the Tessin planet that Roken mentions to Obi-Wan Kenobi is the planet that he goes to in his escape pod that he fights Darth Vader on. It's meant to be a brand new planet that hasn't appeared in the canon before that they just created for this episode. When he says their motivator is broken, they're trying to fix it, he's talking about their hyperdrive motivator. Darth Vader took that out to prevent them from going to hyperspace and escaping. If you notice in the background too, zoom in and enhance, Leia is currently talking to the boy and his mother from Episode 3 that we saw that Haja bilked out of their money, but helping to escape the planet to Jabim. His name is Karan, so a lot of people thought that he could be a version of Karan Horn from the Legends canon, because Karan Horn's father from the Legends canon had written on the walls inside Tala's room. He's meant to be an example of another random Force-sensitive person who's trying to escape the Inquisitors. In the Legends canon, he actually winds up at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy, so they could wind up paying that off in the future at some point, if they ever actually do a series with Luke at his Jedi Academy. Back on Tatooine, Owen and Luke Skywalker's broken speeder that he references is probably a reference to the V-35 speeder that you see in the background of A New Hope. They actually wound up using that during the Mandalorian series and again during the Book of Boba Fett a couple times. That was the more expensive land speeder that the family owned and used together. The X-35 land speeder is the one that most people think of when they think of Luke Skywalker's land speeder. Completely different, but he doesn't get that till later in the timeline when he's a teenager. I couldn't find any special information on who was playing this particular alien here, so it could be a surprise special celebrity cameo, but I couldn't detect anyone in particular's voice. The whole thing with the rest of the ship wanting to continue protecting Obi-Wan Kenobi, basically sacrificing themselves because that's kind of what they'd be doing, is more about showing him that people are still fundamentally good, giving him more hope for the future, like he's supposed to be way less pessimistic than he was at the beginning of the series. It's all about his character arc in finding a new hope for the future. Many different references to that happening, like they want to push him in the direction that you see him in when you see him again during A New Hope. They also confirmed that Haja does wind up helping take Leia back to Alderaan while he's busy distracting Darth Vader, so he does wind up being useful during the finale. Like, this is the reason why they brought Haja back for this episode. We finally see Beru Lars. It's the same actress from Revenge of the Sith. Like I said earlier, they just didn't show her in previous episodes. I think you heard her voice briefly. And it's also the same deal with Ewan McGregor looking so much younger than the Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, all the actors here from Revenge of the Sith came back, but because all these actors have just aged way more gracefully than the actors during A New Hope, they look way younger, even though A New Hope is only like 8 or 9 years down the road in the timeline. Like, those must have been a really hard 8 or 9 years that they all lived. He gives Leia Tala's blaster holster, and it's a sort of wink to her future eventually fighting in the rebellion, running all over the galaxy with a blaster in her hand, so to speak. They wind up paying that off at the end of the episode too, where she's wearing an outfit that looks very similar to the outfit that she wore during A New Hope. They set up the big Qui Gon Jinn cameo scene at the end that we all predicted would eventually happen. Very predictable cameo scene, even though it was really cool to see him come back, with Obi-Wan Kenobi speaking to Qui-Gon again, coming to peace with the decision that his confrontation with Darth Vader has to be his last, and that one of them will have to die. Obviously, hindsight 2020, it doesn't go down that way. We knew that their final rematch wasn't until the Death Star in A New Hope. But again, this is more about setting up the Qui-Gon Jinn cameo scene and him making peace with what he eventually has to do. Don't worry, I'll talk all about the Qui-Gon Jinn cameo scene when we get to that part of the episode later in the video. Most of his conversations here saying goodbye to everyone is him referencing what eventually will happen in the future timeline with the formation of the rebellion. Like he tells Roken, oh, you're a great leader, you should keep it up. Roken's saying he's just getting started. He could always come back during the Andor series because during that series they will show the actual formation of the rebellion. That's meant to take place about 5 years before A New Hope, so just a couple years after this, so he looked the exact same. Not a lot of time goes by. Then the whole thing with Darth Vader ignoring the Grand Inquisitor's common sense, just falling for Obi-Wan Kenobi's gambit, is another reference to the lessons that he failed to learn during the prequels era. That was what all the flashbacks were during Episode 5 as well, to kind of show us all the lessons that he didn't fully learn at the time. There are a couple references to him being Obi-Wan Kenobi's Padawan, calling him Master during the episode. Also meant to reference what will eventually happen during A New Hope in their final rematch, with him saying, now I am finally the master, even though technically he was also kind of wrong in that instance too. But even though after they start their rematch, we don't see the Grand Inquisitor again, the Grand Inquisitor is a really important character all the way to the events of Star Wars Rebels. He eventually faces those characters, that's when he winds up dying, so he's going to be around for a long time. So if they do more series during this part of the timeline, like during Star Wars Andor, he'll still be alive. Also, consequently, because they did not go after all of these Force sensitives that went along the path, those characters will be alive too during the events of Star Wars Andor. When he gets ready to board his ship and head to the planet, they play some more music cues from the Imperial March. And when he says, I'll face him alone, like he heads to his ship, that's another reference to both A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. First when Obi-Wan says he's going off on his own on the Death Star to face Vader alone, but then also during Return of the Jedi when Luke goes off on his own to face Darth Vader and the Emperor. I believe the whole thing with Obi-Wan Kenobi taking the Lola droid with him is unintentional on his part because it still has the tracker that Reva put on it, and it's just meant to distract the Empire to keep them from tracking the rest of the shuttle and help them escape so that she can get back to Alderaan. So I think it's kind of an accident on his part, but also for plot reasons why they had the Lola droid with him. Also so they can have that scene at the end with him returning the droid to her. You also notice that Darth Vader's ship is a full-on Lambda-class Imperial shuttle, which we see again during Return of the Jedi, but the funny thing is that during Return of the Jedi, that was actually the first chronological appearance of that shuttle, like they created it for Return of the Jedi. But later, comics, animated series, video games used the shuttle earlier in the timeline. Now this whole rematch, their interplay, probably my favorite part of the episode, favorite part of the series in general, and I think that this was their whole pitch, their whole reason for actually doing the Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we actually had them talk to each other in this moment here? It was kind of like their version of the Ahsoka versus Darth Vader fight from Star Wars Rebels. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if we did that, but with Obi-Wan Kenobi? Okay, now, how do we create 6 episodes out of that? Like, how do we get them to this moment? And that's where the series came from. In reality, originally, they were going to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, but that was long before they'd done the Mandalorian series. It kind of pivoted to doing Star Wars on TV. So it felt like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series had like 4 episodes of material stretched out into 6 episodes, and some of the episodes felt a little bit weaker just because there just wasn't quite as much going on as you expected, because they were probably just working out from the original script, which is like a 2-hour, 2.5-hour movie. But like, this is the whole reason why you bring Hayden Christensen back as Darth Vader, because you could put anybody who's super tall under the mask that has that physicality. You want to show him speaking as Anakin Skywalker with the broken Sith armor. And like I said, they did this exact scene during Star Wars Rebels, Twilight of the Apprentice, even though I think that that version of the scene is probably a little bit better.
I won't leave you. Not this time.
Then you will die.
But you have to have seen a lot of the Ahsoka episodes during Clone Wars and their interplay for it to really pay off in the way that it needs to. I think that a lot of people will watch this knowing more about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker's relationship than Ahsoka and Anakin Skywalker's relationship. So hopefully when they get to the Ahsoka episodes next year, they'll also find a way to have some Anakin Skywalker Ahsoka scenes so that you can actually have a version of that scene too. So that more people will learn about those episodes, then go back and watch that version of the animated scene, and it'll pay off in the way that it's supposed to. Probably one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, not just animated scenes, but any scenes of any kind, live action as well. And a lot of the dialogue that Darth Vader has during this scene with Obi-Wan Kenobi, they lifted from the Ahsoka scene during Star Wars Rebels. And just talking about their actual fight, like the actual moves that they use, Obi-Wan Kenobi regained a lot of his technique since their last fight earlier in the series. It's more of an actual fight and less of Obi-Wan Kenobi just running in the opposite direction. Although if it wasn't clear, during this moment, Darth Vader is still way more powerful than Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Obi-Wan is still trying to use all those lessons that you saw the flashbacks to in Episode 5 against Darth Vader. Like, you still haven't fully learned all those things that I was trying to teach you. And even during A New Hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi only loses their final rematch on purpose. Technically, you could say that he actually won the fight because Darth Vader only did what he wanted him to do. Like, he made Obi-Wan Kenobi way more powerful, giving him the giant upgrade by helping him become a Force Ghost by killing him. We see Darth Vader use a couple new Force moves that you haven't seen before. He just cracks the ground beneath them, just causing him to fall, trying to bury him. He also calls him Master again, another reference to A New Hope when he claims that he is the Master finally, even though that's not totally true. They intercut their fight with the whole Reva versus Owen and Beru Lars, with her trying to get at Luke Skywalker. And there's no way they could beat her on a regular one-on-one fight, so really this is more about them using the terrain around their farm against her and doing the same thing that Obi-Wan Kenobi was doing earlier, leading her as far away from Luke as possible for as long as possible. And the funny Easter egg you may have spotted here is that when Owen Lars starts actually fighting her one-on-one, he uses the same piece of equipment to fight her that they used in the Death Star garbage compactor to try and stop the walls from closing, this bar here. They also used this same piece of equipment during the Book of Boba Fett recently. That was happening in Mos Eisley, so I'm assuming this piece of equipment is just very common, so I don't think it was the exact same bar, but that would be kind of funny if it was. They also want to use all of these scenes to redeem Owen Lars' character a little bit and show that he wasn't just this grumpy curmudgeon of an old man that hated fun. He genuinely did care about Luke and think of him as a son and did just want to keep him safe. Rightfully so, because they referenced this during Return of the Jedi with Force Ghost Obi-Wan Kenobi admitting that he kept Darth Vader's identity as Anakin Skywalker from Luke Skywalker on purpose, because if he had learned the truth long before when he was much younger, before all this stuff had happened, he would have run straight to him and into the Emperor's hands unwittingly, and they'd have turned him into another Sith Inquisitor. They would have done the same thing to Leia too during this series if Obi-Wan Kenobi hadn't eventually rescued her. When Reva claims that she just wants justice, that's the whole reason for wanting Luke Skywalker, is because she wants justice against Anakin Skywalker for the death of her friends during Order 66. The way they cut the episode is kind of misleading. It makes you kind of question what it is that she knows about Anakin Skywalker's identity and Luke Skywalker's identity. I think she kind of pieces things together, and that's why she ultimately wants to kill Luke Skywalker. Like, I think they wanted to show that she had figured out that Luke Skywalker was his son. That's one of the funny things too. Like, they end the episode, she just goes off into the wild, and she's just another person that knows who Luke Skywalker is. Like, okay, we'll just pretend like you're going to keep that secret. Later, we obviously find Obi-Wan Kenobi has survived. He's trying to hold back the rocks, but he's having more PTSD flashbacks to the prequels and to Luke and Leia earlier in the series. There's scenes from earlier in the series and scenes from the practice lightsaber fight flashbacks that we saw during the events of Attack of the Clones, or before Attack of the Clones. That's what all those Anakin Skywalker voiceover lines are from that lightsaber fight that we just got done watching. And when they start fighting again, he uses the same force throw trick against Darth Vader that he had just used against him. But the real point here is in damaging his Sith armor enough so that we see Anakin Skywalker's Hayden Christensen's face underneath the actual armor and hear his voice as Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker. You notice that when he starts to damage his Sith armor, you can hear his breathing turn into the wheezing sounds that you also heard during Return of the Jedi, and obviously then you see his actual face under the helmet. This whole scene is probably my favorite part of the entire series. Like I said, this scene is really probably the whole reason why they wanted to do Obi-Wan Kenobi as a movie or even a TV show, just so they could actually have this one particular scene. Obi-Wan Kenobi apologizes for everything that happened, and when Anakin Skywalker, or Darth Vader, however you want to think about him, says that, no, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did it. It's about this idea that he spent the last 10 years trying to kill what's left of Anakin Skywalker within him. Ultimately unsuccessfully, because the title of the movie, Return of the Jedi, is a reference to the return of Anakin Skywalker as much as it's a reference to Luke Skywalker returning. Like when he eventually tries to kill the Emperor, the Anakin Skywalker he used to be returns, and he turns to the light side of the Force. So during this entire period of his life though, before Return of the Jedi, he's been trying to snuff out the light side within him, this spark of goodness within him. The Emperor also references that later when he makes his cameo scene at the end of the episode too. You also notice that during the scene, Obi-Wan Kenobi calls him Darth to his face for the first time, I believe, because every time that they'd spoken to each other in their scenes together, he'd referred to him as Anakin Skywalker, at least up to this point. And I think this is also meant to sort of bring this into continuity with their rematch during A New Hope as well too, because during that scene, he also refers to him as Darth as well. I think the reason why he ultimately didn't go back to Tatooine looking for him is because he gave the Lola droid with the tracker in it back to Leia on Alderaan, so Darth Vader knew that the tracker was on Alderaan, but he couldn't really do anything about it because he didn't know that Leia was really his child. He just thought that she was just some other spoiled rich girl, the daughter of a senator. So when Obi-Wan Kenobi then eventually went back to Tatooine, there was no tracker to track him back to Tatooine. Also, there's all the jokes about him hating sand, like where should I hide? The place that Anakin hates most, the place with all the sand. Then the way they cut the finale, the timeline is just a little bit wonky, like this scene of Reva coming for Luke Skywalker isn't meant to be happening concurrently with Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi's rematch, because they want Obi-Wan Kenobi to be able to arrive just as she's walking back, like they want this to all line up. But they reveal she's unable to kill Luke Skywalker because she has this PTSD flashback to Order 66, seeing him as like another version of her. We all predicted this was going to happen. She would turn good somehow, survive the end of the series, just eventually go off into the ether and hide, go to ground. She might come back again during future series, we'll see. But the whole thing with Obi-Wan Kenobi sensing what was happening to Luke through the Force that far away is also meant to show you how he's reattuned himself to the Force, which helps set up the big Qui Gon Jinn cameo scene at the end. Like I was just kind of waiting for you to get to this point again where you'd reconnected with the Force before you could actually see me. Obi-Wan's talk to her about finally honoring her friends is a reference to all those other Jedi that they put in those stasis pods that they tortured, that she herself actually wound up torturing. There's a little bit of hand-waving that goes over that. Maybe at some point they'll go back and they'll rescue some of those bodies, even though most of them I believe are meant to be dead. But Obi-Wan is trying to tell her that by turning good in the things that she will eventually do to help other rogue Jedi, other Force sensitives, that will help honor the memory of all of her friends from Order 66. She also gives him her Sith Inquisitor lightsaber. I'm assuming that he either dismantled it immediately or there's just one of those in his things now, but I think he probably would have disassembled that one. Back in Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar, they bring back Emperor Palpatine, another cameo scene. They've repaired his Sith armor, and the Emperor's line about his thoughts being clear on this matter is meant to be another reference to the original trilogy. But during that scene, it was more of a reference about Luke Skywalker that the Emperor was referring to, like, I hope your thoughts on this matter are clear. And just in general, this is a reference to the Emperor never fully trusting Darth Vader, always assuming that eventually he'd betray him because Darth Vader always had his own plans. And Darth Vader himself never fully trusting the Emperor, always looking for a way to get rid of him as well. That's what he was trying to sell Luke on during Empire Strikes Back when he was telling him the whole truth. Join me and let's overthrow the Emperor. That's one of the funnier things about the Darth Vader Emperor Palpatine relationship is they were both always kind of using each other as a means to an end. Both of them wanted to eventually find a way to get rid of the other one. And when the Emperor says that his feelings for Obi-Wan Kenobi have left him weakened, that's another reference to Return of the Jedi with the Anakin Skywalker within him, like the spark of light returning within him and him eventually trying to kill the Emperor. So when Darth Vader says, no, Obi-Wan Kenobi means nothing to me, that's all done, that's kind of misleading because even though he thinks that he's killed the Anakin Skywalker within him, that's not totally true. And as the camera pulls away, they play the actual Imperial March theme music again. Previously, there have been some remixes, but this is more like straight up Imperial March theme song. All the scenes of Leia putting her clothes on at the end is meant to be a callback to earlier in the series when it was actually her friend pretending to be her, but this time they highlight the cinnamon bun hairstyle, which we see again during A New Hope, which is just like a classic style on Alderaan. She's wearing gloves like she asked Obi-Wan Kenobi to buy for her earlier, and she's wearing Tala's belt that she gave to her. And even though she's not wearing the same white dress, the white clothing is meant to look kind of like her clothing during A New Hope. And I believe that when Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up, this is the first time we've actually seen him in a Star Wars project on actual Alderaan, even though he's been to the planet before. Like, this is the first time we've actually seen it happen. He brings the Lola droid back, which also explains why the Emperor isn't able to track him back to Tatooine. And when he says that Leia has already repaid him, it's a reference to giving him a new hope for the future, more references to that movie in the original trilogy. And the whole conversation with Bail Organa and then later with Leia as well, the separate conversation, is meant to help set him up during A New Hope and their relationship during that movie, setting up Leia's message to him she put into R2-D2, and explaining why it seemed like she didn't know him during that message. Like, oh, you have to pretend like we don't know each other to keep us safe. He also references Anakin Skywalker and Padme again without coming right out and saying that he's talking about them, and they play some of Leia's theme song from the original trilogy while this is happening. Then as Obi-Wan Kenobi packs up his cave, he's decided to fully make the hut that we see him living in during A New Hope and goes to visit Owen Lars and Luke Skywalker on their farm. He brings the model T-16, which he eventually gives to Luke Skywalker, we see him playing with during A New Hope. And you notice he's wearing his traditional Jedi robes again that we see during A New Hope. Like, he's wearing the Jedi robes again. And the way that Owen Lars talks about meeting Luke Skywalker, they're explaining that this is going to be the first time that Luke Skywalker has met him that he will remember, and this is how he gets to know old Ben Kenobi that he references during A New Hope. I wonder if he's talking about old Ben. Like, eventually they will cross paths many times during his upbringing. Like, he won't always stay at a distance from them, but he'll think of him as old Ben. And probably one of the biggest references during the episode, saving some of the best stuff for last, when he walks up to actually meet him and introduce himself, he says the classic line,
"Hello there."
And as he rides away and Qui Gon Jinn shows up, they play some of the classic Force theme music. So you notice when he does ride up to Qui Gon Jinn here, the entrance is to the Jundland Waste. This is where his hut is going to be eventually. The funny thing about Liam Neeson coming back too is that he actually said earlier that he didn't want to come back during a TV series. He'd rather come back for a movie, but obviously now that was just a misdirect. And this is meant to pay off that whole scene during Revenge of the Sith where Yoda basically tells Obi-Wan Kenobi that Qui Gon Jinn is going to teach him how to become a Force ghost, setting up A New Hope. The one thing here, though, is that technically Qui Gon Jinn never fully learned to become a Force ghost. Like, he became a Force spirit, but he was more of a disembodied voice. But I think they wanted to show him becoming a Force ghost here, so the people who don't, like, really fully understand the actual canon just understand what's going on in this moment. Like, oh, it is Qui Gon Jinn, and it really is Liam Neeson. They got into this during the Clone Wars episode, so if you want to learn more about the technicalities behind this and how the Wills taught Yoda to become a Force ghost with the help of Qui Gon Jinn, they deal with that during those episodes. Initially, what happened is that Qui Gon Jinn met the Shaman of the Wills, like the Will characters here. They taught him to become a Force ghost, but he didn't finish his training before he was killed during Phantom Menace. He could only become a disembodied voice, and they tasked him with helping Yoda learn to become a Force ghost. And then eventually Yoda basically told Obi-Wan Kenobi, well, while you're watching over Luke Skywalker growing up, I want you to learn from an old friend, Qui Gon Jinn, to learn how to become a Force ghost. Overall, the series was a fun idea, but like I said, there were a couple just really strong moments and then a little bit of taffy pulling on some of the other stuff. So if there were any big Easter eggs in this episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments and let me know what was your favorite moment from the series. I feel like for most people, it will be that final rematch. But what'll happen is we'll get more trailers for the Star Wars Andor series pretty soon, and the She-Hulk episodes will be airing around the same time. There will be a little bit of overlap, so don't worry about that. I'll do videos just like I do for the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff right now too. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. The Mandalorian Season 3 episodes will be early February next year. We'll get a trailer for that later this year too. I've already done trailer videos for Star Wars Andor and the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer from Star Wars Celebration, so I'll put those links in the description below. While you wait for everything, you can click here for that Mandalorian Season 3 trailer video, and click here for my brand new Thor Love and Thunder trailer video with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.